What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from House of Paint 203, bringing you the Earth Elemental, one of the 4 elementals from Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures and Woods Kids Games. Going to be my first elemental that I've painted on the channel. This one's been in the pipeline for a little while. I think it's finally time to get cracking with it. So we'll get going. Just a friendly reminder before we do to smite like and slam subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the latest content that I'm putting out there in my quest to paint the manual. And now subscribing is easier than ever. All you got to do is click that little beholder in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. So without further ado, here's the Earth Elemental. So to start things off here on the Earth Elemental, I have mixed a little bit of heavy blue with some heavy gray and a touch of black. Made sure to dilute the paint a touch with a drop of water and thin it out in the palette so that that black primer can really show through. Just spreading it out in thin layers. May have to do an extra coat, but that's all right. Spread it over the entire model here. All right, so there is 2 coats of that mixture. And now I'm gonna be going in with a little bit of a wash. Just really darken that stone up. And what I'm gonna be using for this wash is just a little combo, black wash and blue wash. Take that wash, I'm gonna just keep placing it all around the miniature like so. And the wash's primary function is to find those recesses and help add depth to the figure. I'm trying to let it pool up, so constantly wanna guide it where it needs to go. I'm gonna get up in here with a mid-tone now. Got a little stone gray to the mix and just applying it to a lot of the raised areas in here. Again, when I'm doing this, I'm making sure the paint is diluted. By doing that, I take just a little drop of water. Get some paint on the tip of the brush. Getting a fair amount of it out in the palette. You don't want to glob it on. You can always add paint. You cannot take paint away. So just something to think about. And also making sure the paint is diluted really gives you the opportunity to have those base layers kind of bleed through just a little bit so that it creates a bit more of a creamy blend. It doesn't create a very harsh transition. You can see I'm just going pretty much all over the raised areas in the rock. And again, this is adding a little Stonewall Grey to the original base color. that base color down in the kind of in the crevices there. Create a little shadow. Just like so. I'm gonna speed things up here for you guys. So now I'm going to take some Stonewall Grey by itself, and I'm going to be doing a dry brush. So just to show you guys what I'm doing here, so I take the Stonewall Grey in the palette, which is right there, and I load my brush up like so. And then I'm going to spend some time just getting a lot of this paint off. I do that on my paper towel here until I have just like a dusting of Stonewall Grey, or whatever color I'm using. So now this model has a lot of texture on it, so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to go against the grain, and you're really able to see that Stonewall Grey start to pop on the raised areas. See, like that, kind of highlighting the face a little bit there, the lips. Just like that. Nice little dry brush right there. I'm gonna do that on this side. I'm not gonna bother with the other side because the other side is actually gonna be away from the light. So that's a pretty good place to stop with the dry brush there. I'm gonna go ahead here and add a glaze. This is a glaze of heavy Bluegrey. You want to put it on nice and thin, so which I did not do. What I'm doing now is with a dry brush, going in and kind of removing some of what I had put on there. that. We'll see how that looks when it dries, then we'll focus on the back side. Going ahead on the back of the earth elemental here with a glaze of heavy gray and a touch of black wash. I'm using a darker color on the back because it is away from the light, so when you turn the model and look at it sideways, you're going to clearly see a transition from light to dark. Basing the base here in heavy brown. Now that the base is dry, I'm going ahead here and putting some sepia wash over it and hope to really bring out the texture that is on the base. I'm going to go over the entire base before getting into the individual stones that are scattered around it. Alrighty, so sepia wash is applied, and I've also gone in and picked out the rocks with a little heavy blue-gray. I'm going to be going in on those same rocks with I'm also going to take some black wash and start going underneath the earth elemental a little bit, because I definitely want there to be a little bit more contrast than there currently is. Really emphasizing kind of the curvature of its legs. Going in under the undercarriage here. And just like that. Nothing too extravagant. So we'll let those rocks and the wash dry, and then we'll finish them up. So what I'm doing here is applying a highlight of Stonewall Grey mixed with heavy blue-gray to the raised areas of the stones. I'm doing this because I don't want to risk a dry brush and dry brush the brown soil with the gray mixture that I have here. So that's what I'm going to be doing here on the base of the earth elemental. Now with some Otyug brown, I'm going to be applying a dry brush to the soiled areas, going around the edges of the miniature's base, and also to, of course, the heavily textured areas of the soil. So last order of business, I'm taking a ratty old brush. I mean, this thing is like, I could stab somebody with this. Not that I would. I'm taking my glue. I'm going to put a little dab onto the stone up here, and I'm just going to use this brush to kind of spread it and take just a little bit of moss. I'm going to kind of pop it down there. The same thing here, very trace amount. Take a little bit of this moss, actually by the army painter, and just kind of sprinkle it on. I don't want to overwhelm it with moss, but I do want to add some kind of like, you know, environmental effects on this guy, who is described as the physical embodiment of Earth. So there, kind of cool. I'm gonna switch things up. Go into field grass. And same idea. Just gonna spread that around a little bit. I'm gonna take some of this field grass. Very lightly, kind of a dusting of field grass. I may incorporate some leaf clutter as well. Give it like an early autumn scene. Trying to leave the rocks alone. Like that, it's kind of cool. I wonder what some of this leaf litter will look like on top of the elemental. So how's this? Sprinkle it on there. That's kind of neat. It adds a splash of color to him. Makes it look like he's popping out of the earth. So I think that is where I will stop. I'm gonna clean this area up and then I'll sign off. All right, so there is the Earth Elemental. This was a fun little project to work on. Definitely happy that I spiced up the model with some earth effects. Just kind of makes it look like it's bursting out of nature. I hope you enjoyed as well. Remember, if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do so. If you're enjoying the content, that'll keep you up to date on everything that I'm putting out there, and you can do so by clicking on the little beholder in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Also follow me on Instagram. The handle is right there, and it will also be appearing at the end of the video, along with all my other social media accounts that you can follow me on. But as always, I thank you for joining me. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms is immediately following the video, as is information on how to follow Dominic Marriott of Credit UK and Mike Donarumo of MVD Studios. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.